The discovery. Kira Voss stood motionless in the shadows of New Eden's crowded marketplace, her adaptive camouflage suit blending perfectly with the dusty wall behind her. As the Empire's most accomplished assassin, she had eliminated countless targets across 3 galaxies. But this assignment was different. Her target was a human female, Dr. Sarah Chen, lead researcher at the Terran Defense Initiative. The Empire wanted her eliminated before she could complete her work on advanced shield technology. Simple enough, Kira thought. Humans were considered primitive by galactic standards, technological infants who had barely mastered interstellar travel. The marketplace buzzed with activity as merchants hawked their wares. Dr. Chen walked past Kira's position, completely unaware of the predator tracking her movements. Kira's neural implants analyzed the target's vital signs, mapping the perfect kill zone. One shot. No witnesses, no evidence. That was Kira's signature. She raised her particle beam pistol, its targeting system linking with her ocular implants. The shot would be virtually untraceable. The weapon was designed to disintegrate after use, leaving no forensic trail. Kira's finger tightened on the trigger. The blast struck Dr. Chen squarely in the chest. She crumpled instantly, dead before hitting the ground. Screams erupted through the marketplace as panicked civilians fled the scene. Kira allowed herself a small smile. Another perfect execution. But something was wrong. Her neural implants were going haywire, detecting impossible energy readings emanating from the corpse. Before Kira's eyes, Dr. Chen's body began to glow with an ethereal blue light. Then it simply vanished. "Looking for me." The voice came from behind her. Kira spun around, weapon raised. There stood Dr. Chen, very much alive, smiling coldly. Impossible. Kira had confirmed the kill. She never missed. Surprised, Dr. Chen asked, taking a step forward. "You're not the first assassin the Empire has sent. We've learned a few tricks over the centuries." Kira fired again, the particle beam cutting through Dr. Chen's form. Once again, the body glowed and vanished. This time, the voice came from her left. "You can't kill what you don't understand," Dr. Chen said. "And there's a lot about humans the Empire doesn't understand." Kira's training kicked in. She activated her emergency teleport beacon, preparing to evacuate. But nothing happened. She was trapped. "Your technology won't work here," Dr. Chen explained. "We've created a damping field that neutralizes Imperial tech." Primitive humans, indeed. More figures emerged from the crowd, surrounding Kira. Each one was identical. All Dr. Chen. Kira's implants were screaming warnings, detecting energy signatures unlike anything in the Imperial database. "What are you?" Kira demanded, her voice steady despite her growing unease. "We are humanity's next evolutionary step," the Chens replied in unison. "When the Empire first attacked Earth, they forced us to adapt, to survive. What you're seeing is the result. Consciousness transfer. When you kill one of us, our consciousness immediately transfers to another host. We can't die. Not really. Not anymore." Kira's mind raced. This changed everything. The Empire's entire strategy against Earth was based on the assumption that humans were primitive beings who could be easily eliminated. If they had developed this kind of technology. No, this wasn't technology. This was something else entirely. "The Empire won't stop," Kira warned. "They'll send others." "We're counting on it," one of the Chens replied. "Each assassin they send learns the truth. Some, like you, are smart enough to realize what it means." "What do you mean?" "The Empire's reign is built on fear, fear of death. But what happens when you can't kill your enemy? When every execution creates a martyr who lives on? How do you fight an enemy that grows stronger with each attempt to destroy them?" Kira lowered her weapon. Her neural implants were recording everything, analyzing the impossible data before her. The Empire needed to know about this. But as she processed the implications, a new thought formed. Did she want the Empire to know? "You have a choice," Dr. Chen said, the duplicates fading away until only one remained. Return to the Empire, report your failure, and watch them waste resources trying to kill the unkillable. Or stay, learn our secrets, and help us show the galaxy that humanity is more than the Empire believes. Kira had served the Empire faithfully for decades. She was their best, their most loyal weapon. But she was also a survivor, and survivors knew when the winds of change were blowing. The other assassins, Kira said slowly, the ones who came before me. What did they choose? Dr. Chen smiled. Why don't you meet them yourself? She gestured toward a nondescript building behind them. As the door opened, Kira saw familiar faces, other Imperial assassins she had known over the years, all believed to be dead or missing. They had made their choice. Now it was her turn. The Empire's leadership must be eliminated, Kira said finally. Their power structure, their command chain, all of it must be dismantled for any real change to occur. And who better to help us than their own elite assassins? Dr. Chen replied. Welcome to the Resistance, Kira Voss. As Kira stepped through the door, she knew the galaxy would never be the same. The Empire had created the perfect weapons, but now those weapons were turning against their masters, and with humanity's remarkable ability, victory was not just possible, it was inevitable. The Empire's greatest fear was about to become reality. Their own assassins were now their executioners. And this time, death would be permanent. The Resistance. The Imperial High Command Chamber buzzed with tension as Admiral Thrain reviewed the latest reports. Another assassination attempt had failed. Another elite operative had vanished. The pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. 17 of our best assassins, Thrain growled, his scaled fingers tightening on the datapad. All missing in action after attempting to eliminate human targets. This goes beyond coincidence. The assembled Imperial leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Empire had conquered countless civilizations across the galaxy, but humanity was proving problematic. There's more, General Vex added, her cybernetic eye glowing as she projected holographic data into the center of the chamber. We've detected unauthorized access to our secure networks. Military installations across 3 sectors have reported security breaches. The infiltration patterns match our own assassins' training. Impossible. Thrain snapped. Our operatives' loyalty is absolute. Their neural conditioning has failed. A new voice interrupted. All heads turned as Kira Voss materialized in the center of the chamber, her stealth field dissolving. Imperial guards raised their weapons, but she remained perfectly still, her expression neutral. Operative Voss, Thrain said coldly. You were declared missing after failing to eliminate Dr. Chen. Explain yourself. I'm here to deliver a message, Kira replied. The Guild of Imperial Assassins is declaring independence from Empire control. We will no longer accept contracts against human targets. Stunned silence filled the chamber. The Guild's loyalty had been absolute for centuries, their neural conditioning making betrayal impossible. Or so they had thought. This is treason, General Vex hissed. The conditioning has been broken, Kira interrupted. The humans helped us overcome it. They showed us the truth about what the Empire did to us, how they stripped away our free will. We're taking it back. Admiral Thrain's hand moved toward his sidearm. You're malfunctioning. Operative. Submit for recondition. The blast from Kira's weapon caught him in the chest, but instead of killing him, it released a pulse of energy that disabled his neural implants. Thrain collapsed, his connection to the Imperial network severed. That was a warning, Kira announced as chaos erupted in the chamber. The Empire's reign through fear is ending. We know your weaknesses. We built your security systems. And now we're going to tear them down. She vanished before the guards could react, leaving behind a chamber full of panicked Imperial leaders. Their perfect weapons had turned against them, and for the first time in centuries, the Empire felt fear. Back at the Resistance base on New Eden, Dr. Chen watched the operation unfold through the neural feed of their infiltrators. Former Imperial assassins worked alongside human operators, systematically dismantling the Empire's control networks. Phase 1 is complete, she announced to the assembled team. The Empire knows we've turned their assassins. Now they'll be forced to respond. Marcus Kane, formerly the Empire's third-ranked assassin, stepped forward. They'll try to activate the fail-safe protocols, attempt to shut us down remotely. Let them try, Dr. Chen smiled. Every attempt to control you only makes our position stronger. The Empire doesn't understand what they're dealing with. The Resistance base hummed with activity as human scientists worked alongside former Imperial operatives, combining their unique strengths. The assassins' advanced combat training and technical knowledge merged with humanity's adaptability and their mysterious consciousness transferability. We've confirmed 20 more assassins have broken conditioning, reported Lisa Chen, one of Dr. Chen's consciousness shares. They're requesting extraction from Imperial space. Send the recovery teams, Dr. Chen ordered, and prepare for Phase 2. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You think they're ready? Most of these assassins are still adjusting to freedom. The psychological impact of breaking the conditioning is precisely why we need to move quickly, Kira interrupted, materializing beside them. I've seen the Empire's response plans. They're preparing to deploy the mind-burner weapon. The room fell silent. The mind-burner was the Empire's ultimate failsafe, a device capable of frying the neural implants of any Imperial citizen, turning them into mindless drones. It had only been used once before, to put down a rebellion in the Centauri sector. They're that desperate? Marcus asked. They're terrified, Kira replied. The Empire's power relies on absolute control. We've shown that control can be broken. They'll burn their own assassins' minds before letting us remain free. Dr. Chen's expression hardened. Then we'll strike first. The human consciousness transfer ability isn't just a defense mechanism. It's a weapon. And it's time the Empire learned exactly what that means. She turned to the assembled team, her voice carrying across the command center. The Empire thought they could defeat humanity through fear. Instead, they've given us their greatest weapons, their own assassins. Now we'll show them what happens when you combine Imperial precision with human innovation. Screens around the room lit up with target data, Imperial command centers, weapon facilities, and neural conditioning stations. Each one had been carefully selected, their defenses mapped by former assassins who had helped build them. The Empire's greatest weakness, Kira explained, is their reliance on neural networks. Every citizen is connected, controlled, monitored. They thought it made them strong. Instead, it gives us a way in. And once we're in, Marcus added, we can upload the consciousness transfer protocol directly into their network. Imagine Imperial citizens suddenly able to transfer consciousness like humans. Their entire control system would collapse. Dr. Chen nodded. The Empire built itself on the belief that death is the ultimate control. We're going to show them what happens when death becomes meaningless. As the Resistance prepared for their boldest strike yet, Kira couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Empire had created the perfect assassins, trained them to be lethal and precise, but they had never considered that their weapons might choose a different path. The age of Imperial control was ending. The age of human assassin cooperation was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Alliance, the former Imperial training facility on Nexus VI, had been transformed. Where once cold efficiency and ruthless conditioning dominated, now a different kind of learning took place. In the main chamber, Arivis stood before a group of human recruits, her movements precise as she demonstrated advanced combat techniques. The Empire's neural implants give them enhanced reaction times, she explained, her holographic training dummy flickering as it attacked. But they're predictable. They rely too heavily on programmed responses. That's their weakness. The humans watched intently as Kira flowed through the combat sequence, her movements a deadly dance. These weren't soldiers. They were scientists, engineers, and civilians who had volunteered for the Resistance. Their determination to learn made up for their lack of experience. Remember, She continued, disabling the hologram with a precise strike. Your consciousness transfer ability gives you an advantage they can't counter. You can take risks they'd never consider, but that doesn't mean you should be reckless. In another section of the facility, Marcus Kane worked with Dr. Chen's team, analyzing Imperial security protocols. The assassin's intimate knowledge of Empire systems combined with human ingenuity was proving to be a powerful combination. Their neural network is adapting, Marcus reported, his cybernetic interfaces streaming data across holographic displays. They're trying to prevent more assassins from breaking conditioning, but each change they make gives us new vulnerabilities to exploit. Dr. Chen nodded, her fingers dancing across control interfaces. The Empire's greatest strength is becoming their greatest weakness. Their need for control makes them predictable. The facility's command center buzzed with activity as human technicians worked alongside former assassins, preparing for their first major offensive. Intelligence gathered by their infiltrators had revealed a critical target, the Imperial Neural Conditioning Center on Arivis Prime. The facility houses the core protocols for all Imperial neural conditioning. Kira explained during the mission briefing. If we can capture it intact, we can free every remaining assassin in Imperial space. If we can't take it, we destroy it. Either way, the Empire loses their ability to control their elite forces. The plan was audacious. Teams of humans, their consciousness transfer ability now refined through training, would serve as the primary assault force. Former assassins would provide tactical support and technical expertise. The Empire would never expect their perfect killers to become perfect teachers. Remember your training, Marcus advised the assembled teams. The Empire thinks in absolutes, victory or death. They won't understand an enemy that can't die. Use that confusion against them. As the strike teams prepared for deployment, Dr. Chen made a final inspection. The humans were equipped with modified Imperial combat gear, enhanced with technologies reversed engineered from captured equipment. But their greatest weapon was one the Empire couldn't copy, their unique consciousness. The Empire built their assassins to be the perfect weapons, she addressed the gathered forces. They made you precise, efficient, and lethal. But they forgot something crucial. The best weapons are the ones that can think for themselves. The assault on Arivis Prime began at dawn. Imperial defenses, designed to repel conventional attacks, proved ineffective against the combined human-assassin tactics. Former Imperial operators disabled security systems they had once maintained, while human strike teams pressed forward, their consciousness transfer ability making them nearly impossible to stop permanently. The Empire's defenders found themselves facing an impossible enemy. When they killed a human attacker, the consciousness would transfer to another body, armed with the knowledge of how they had died. Each death made them stronger, more adaptable, more dangerous. In the facility's central control center, Kira led the final breach. Imperial security forces fell before the combined assault. Their neural-enhanced reactions, once their greatest advantage, made their movements predictable to the assassins who had trained with the same systems. Neural core secured, Kira reported as her team reached the central servers, beginning data extraction. But something was wrong. The facility's defenses were too light, the resistance too minimal. Marcus, monitoring from their command center, detected the anomaly first. Energy spike, he warned. They're initiating a purge protocol. The Empire had anticipated their attack. Rather than risk the conditioning protocols falling into enemy hands, they had rigged the facility to destroy itself, and everyone inside it. Everyone out, Kira ordered, but she knew there wasn't time. The purge sequence would vaporize the facility in seconds. That's when Dr. Chen's voice came over the comm. Remember your training. Death is not the end. The human strike team members linked hands, forming a circle. They had trained for this, a mass consciousness transfer, but on a scale never before attempted. As the purge protocol reached critical levels, their combined consciousness surged through the facility's neural network. The explosion that followed could be seen from orbit. The Imperial Neural Conditioning Center was destroyed, but its data and the consciousness of the strike team had been transferred through the Empire's own network. Hours later, as the dust settled, Imperial investigation teams found no bodies in the wreckage. But across Imperial space, their neural network began to change. The consciousness of the strike team, merged with the conditioning protocols, began to spread. The Empire's perfect control system was becoming a perfect delivery mechanism for humanity's greatest weapon, the ability to transcend death itself. In the Resistance base, Dr. Chen smiled as reports came in. Phase 3 was complete, and it had succeeded beyond their expectations. The Empire had just made their biggest mistake. They had given humanity direct access to their neural network. The war for consciousness had begun. The revolution. The Imperial Palace on Centauri Prime was burning. Not with physical fire, but with the digital inferno of a consciousness uprising. Through the neural network that connected all Imperial citizens, a wave of awakening spread like a virus. The Empire's worst nightmare had become reality. Their own population was breaking free of control. Admiral Thrain stood in the High Command chamber, watching as reports flooded in from across Imperial space. The consciousness transfer protocol, merged with the captured conditioning data, had spread through the neural network faster than anyone had anticipated. Imperial citizens were waking up, their neural conditioning dissolving as human consciousness technology rewrote their basic programming. "Shut it down," he ordered, his voice hoarse. "Shut down the entire network." "We can't," General Vex replied, her cybernetic eye flickering with distress. "The consciousness transfer protocol has infected the core systems. If we shut down the network, we lose control of everything. Defense systems, fleet coordination, planetary governance. The Empire would collapse." "It's already collapsing," a familiar voice announced. Kira Voss appeared in the chamber, but this time she wasn't alone. Dr. Chen materialized beside her, along with Marcus Kane and dozens of other former assassins. Their neural implants, once tools of Imperial control, now gave them direct access to the palace's security systems. "The Empire's reign through neural control is over," Dr. Chen declared. "Your citizens are awakening to true consciousness. They're choosing freedom." Across Imperial space, the revolution unfolded with precision that would have made the old Empire proud. Former assassins, now working as liberation specialists, coordinated with awakened Imperial citizens. Military vessels, their crews freed from conditioning, turned their weapons on loyalist forces. The human consciousness transfer ability, combined with Imperial neural technology, created something entirely new. When an awakened citizen died, their consciousness merged with the neural network itself, becoming part of a growing digital collective that spread freedom further. In the Outer Rim, Marcus led a fleet of liberated Imperial warships. The vessels, once symbols of oppression, now served as transport ships, carrying freed citizens to safe zones established by the Resistance. Their crews, a mixture of former Imperial personnel and human volunteers, worked together with an efficiency that surprised even the assassins. The Empire thought consciousness transfer was a weapon. Marcus observed as another group of freed citizens boarded his ship. They never understood it was really a gift, a way to preserve knowledge, experience, and wisdom across multiple lifetimes. On New Eden, Dr. Chen and her consciousness shares coordinated the global response. The Resistance base had become a command center for the revolution, monitoring the spread of consciousness awakening across Imperial space. The Empire's neural network was designed to control. One of her shares explained to a group of newly awakened citizens. But consciousness cannot be truly controlled. It can only be guided, shared, and allowed to grow. But the Empire wasn't finished. In their desperation, the remaining loyal commanders activated the Mindburner weapon, attempting to lobotomize their own population rather than lose control. The weapon's energy pulse swept through Imperial space, designed to fry the neural implants of any citizen showing signs of independence. What they didn't expect was the response. As the Mindburner pulse approached each sector, awakened citizens joined in massive consciousness transfer networks. When their physical bodies died, their combined consciousness survived in the neural network itself, becoming a digital resistance that the Empire couldn't touch. Kira, watching from the Imperial Palace, felt a moment of sadness for her former masters. "They still don't understand," she said to Dr. Chen. "They're fighting against the very thing that could save them, the ability to evolve beyond their physical limitations." The revolution reached its climax in the palace itself. As Imperial leaders realized their control was slipping away, they made one final desperate attempt to maintain power. They initiated the Terminal Protocol, a complete neural purge that would essentially lobotomize every Imperial citizen still connected to the network. But the resistance was ready. The moment the Terminal Protocol activated, Dr. Chen's consciousness shares spread throughout the network, implemented their countermeasure. Instead of erasing consciousness, the protocol became a conduit for spreading it. The very command meant to destroy independent thought became the key to unlocking it everywhere. "It's beautiful, in a way," Dr. Chen observed as she watched the transformation spread across Imperial space. "The Empire built the perfect system for controlling consciousness. We just changed its purpose. Instead of suppressing consciousness, it now elevates it." The Empire, as a force of control and suppression, ceased to exist in a matter of days. In its place, something new emerged, a federation of awakened worlds where consciousness could be shared, transferred, and preserved across both organic and digital forms. The assassins, once the Empire's perfect weapons, found a new purpose as teachers and guides, helping newly awakened citizens understand their expanded consciousness. The humans, once dismissed as primitives, became architects of a new kind of civilization, one built on the sharing of consciousness rather than its suppression. As the dust settled, Kira stood in the former Imperial Palace, now transformed into a center for consciousness studies. The Empire thought they could control death, she mused. Instead, they helped humanity teach the galaxy how to truly live. The revolution was complete, but the real work was just beginning. A new age of consciousness had dawned, and no one could predict where it would lead. The only certainty was that it would evolve in ways the Empire had never imagined possible. The New Order. 5 years after the fall of the Empire, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. The former Imperial Palace on Centauri Prime, once a symbol of oppression, now housed the Consciousness Council, a gathering of minds both organic and digital, working to guide the new galactic society. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the Grand Observation Deck, watching ships arrive from across the galaxy. Each vessel carried representatives for the Council's annual gathering, where consciousness in all its forms could meet and share experiences. The sight still amazed her. Imperial warships flying alongside human vessels, their crews a mixture of species and consciousnesses, still admiring the view. Kira Voss asked, appearing silently beside her. The former assassin had changed too, her imperial implants now modified to interface with the new consciousness network. Hard to believe this was all Empire territory just a few years ago. The Empire built the foundation without realizing it, Dr. Chen replied. Their neural network connected every citizen. We just changed what flowed through those connections. Fear became understanding. Control became cooperation. The council chamber below them filled with delegates. Some appeared in physical form, others as holographic projections, and still others existed purely as digital consciousnesses within the network. Former Imperial citizens sat alongside humans, their neural implants now tools for sharing experiences rather than enforcing compliance. Marcus Kane, now head of the Transition Authority, took his place at the council table. His organization helped newly awakened consciousness adapt to their expanded existence, whether they chose to remain in physical form or transfer to the digital realm. The latest statistics are encouraging, he announced to the gathered delegates. 97% of former imperial space has successfully transitioned to the new consciousness framework. The remaining 3% are mostly isolated colonies that chose to disconnect from the network entirely. And we respect their choice, Kira added. Unlike the Empire, we don't force consciousness enhancement on anyone. Every being has the right to choose their own path of existence. The Empire's fall had not been without challenges. Some imperial hardliners had tried to maintain control of isolated sectors, but without the neural network to enforce their will, their power quickly faded. Others had attempted to create their own controlled networks, but the consciousness transfer technology proved impossible to contain. The biggest challenge, Dr. Chen addressed the council, remains integration. How do we balance the rights of traditional consciousness with enhanced ones? How do we ensure that digital consciousness remains connected to physical reality? These were questions the Empire had never considered. Their focus had been solely on control, never on the implications of consciousness itself. Now, the galaxy faced the challenge of building a society that could accommodate consciousness in all its forms. The former assassins had found a new purpose in this transformed galaxy. Their training and experience made them perfect guides for those exploring enhanced consciousness. They understood both the technical and psychological aspects of neural integration, helping others navigate the transition they themselves had undergone. We've received requests from 17 more outlying systems, Marcus reported. They want to join the consciousness network. Most are former imperial colonies that initially chose isolation. They've seen how consciousness sharing has transformed their neighbors. The network had evolved far beyond its imperial origins. What was once a tool for control had become a medium for sharing knowledge, experience, and understanding across the galaxy. When a consciousness chose to transfer to the digital realm, their knowledge and experiences became part of a vast, accessible library of wisdom. The Empire feared death above all else, Kira observed. They never understood that consciousness transcends physical existence. In trying to control death, they helped us discover immortality of a different kind. Digital consciousness could be preserved indefinitely, shared across the network, or even merged with others to create new forms of existence. Physical bodies could be cloned or manufactured for those who wished to return to organic form. Death had become a transition rather than an end. But we face new challenges, Dr. Chen reminded the council. As consciousness evolves, so too must our understanding of existence itself. We're no longer merely organic or digital. We're becoming something entirely new. The transformation had affected every aspect of society. Education now involved direct consciousness sharing between teacher and student. Medical treatment could include temporary consciousness transfer while bodies healed. Even space travel had been revolutionized. Consciousness could be transmitted across vast distances, downloading into waiting bodies on distant worlds. As the council session concluded, Dr. Chen returned to the observation deck. The galaxy spread out before her, a vast network of connected consciousness, where once there had been only imperial control. Worlds that had been enemies under the Empire now freely shared knowledge and experience. The Empire thought they had created the perfect system of control, she mused to Kira. Instead, they created the perfect foundation for consciousness to evolve beyond control. And humanity showed us the way, Kira added. The Empire saw your consciousness transfer ability as a weapon to be feared. They never imagined it would become the key to galactic enlightenment. Below them, council members departed in various forms, some to ships, others simply transferring their consciousness across the network to distant worlds. The former imperial palace, once the seat of absolute control, now served as a hub for consciousness exploration and sharing. The galaxy had entered a new age, not one of empire or control, but of consciousness and connection. Humanity's gift had transformed not just society, but the very nature of existence itself. The future was no longer about conquering death. It was about transcending the very boundaries of consciousness. And somewhere in the vast network of shared consciousness, the first seeds of even greater evolution were beginning to stir.